Hello everybody, it's Dustin again from Wild Earth, and today we are in the mid-Hudson Valley in the middle of April, and we're going to be shooting a video about harvesting ramps. So there's a lot of mystique about ramps, and people are wondering why harvest ramps, why not harvest ramps. So I'm going to talk a little bit about those things. As you can see, there's tons and tons of ramps behind me, so people might be wondering, why should I not harvest something that grows so plentifully? And there's a couple of reasons too, and there's a couple of reasons about the mystique. So some of the mystique of ramps come from that they have a short window of harvesting, and that window of harvesting is around early to mid-April to early to mid-May, and it's not a very long harvest window, but luckily there's two edible parts to the plant, and we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about that later. But another reason that there's such mystique is because there's a high market value for them, and they're well sought out from chefs and those kinds of things. And I think it's because there's a special treat for this time of year. So they're here and then they're gone tomorrow. So that's why so many people harvest them. Another reason for the mystique is in some places where they've been over harvested, it actually has become illegal to harvest ramps for commercial use, mainly parts of Canada. So you may be wondering, how did I find these ramps? So based on some experience walking around and exploring in the Hudson Valley, I have found out that ramps prefer to grow in semi-dry to wet areas, often in shaded areas. And above us I have some hemlock trees, and in that direction there's a little creek. So I found this patch of ramps, and they'll grow here every year. And here's what they look like. This is a ramp leaf, perfectly ready for harvest. It's very smooth, and if you break some off, it has a strong onion or garlic smell and taste, and a little bit sweet. It's a really nice wild edible. So one of the reasons that people may be hesitant or concerned about the harvesting of ramps is because they don't know how to harvest them sustainably. Fortunately, in order to enjoy these luscious and sweet and oniony leaves, all you have to do is cut the leaves, and the bulbs will remain underground and grow new leaves, or even maybe grow a flowering part that will produce seeds and spread the growth of ramps. It's probably how these ramps have got spread around here. And unlike a lot of other plants, the seeds of the ramp actually can take up to 5 years to germinate. So that's part of the reason that they're over harvested, is because they never get a chance to make their seeds and therefore continue to make new plants. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how to harvest the bulbs and what to do with them, and how to harvest the leaves. So how can I make sure that ramps aren't over harvested, or that I can produce new ramps? One way of producing new ramps is to, when you're doing some of your harvesting, digging up some ramps and having a friend take them to their place or somewhere else in order to transplant them. So I'm going to try to get the entire plant out of this dig to make sure that it can be transplanted. And I'll give you a look of what the bulbs look like before I pot it. Okay, making sure I get really deep, and there's a lot of other roots and things here, so it's a little hard to get to it. Let's see. Here we have a nice cluster. So within this cluster, you should see my bulbs, and they're going to be small because the bulbs don't reach full maturity until the leaves die out in May. So here you go. Here's your bulbs, and here's the roots coming from the bulbs. And this is the part that people like to wash off, and they eat the oniony part and they eat the leafy part. But like I said, the bulbs, the oniony part doesn't really